It is insane how not so long ago, the entire Dragon Ball community had Totally Not Mark's back. Not just the Dragon Ball community, but the YouTube community as a whole because of his attacks by Toei Animation, the false copyright strikes, attacking his channel, trying to bring it down, almost hakkaiing him off the platform. We were all in unison behind Totally Not Mark, rallying against the injustice that was being performed by Toei Animation. Fast forward to today, and Totally Not Mark has made one of the most controversial videos of his career, even more controversial than his Goku video some years back, where he gives his honest opinion on not only the granola arc, but Bardock as a character. And in this short time frame, we went from let's support Totally Not Mark and his fight against Toei Animation to I hope Totally Not Mark gets his shit wrecked again by Toei. I know, right? Insane. But I think this tweet by Risu summarizes the situation very effectively. Everyone was supporting Totally Not Mark some months ago after his videos got taken down unfairly, until he disliked my favorite Dragon Ball promotional manga. Now he crossed the line. But did Totally Not Mark actually cross any lines? Did he go so far as to demonize the entire Dragon Ball manga as a whole, and even further, Dragon Ball as a franchise? Well, after watching the video, these are the main takeaways that I got from it, and we'll find out whether he crossed the line and went too far, or is this just an opinion of just another Dragon Ball YouTuber. And before anyone says I'm coming after Totally Not Mark, I actually made a video about how amazing his channel was and his content a few years back, supporting this content creator because I think that he's pretty dope. At the beginning of the video, Totally Not Mark basically just summarizes Goku and his character progression, how he basically was a nobody, and through hard work and nurturing, he became somebody. Complete contrast with Bardock, who was trained to be a Saiyan from the very beginning, and even though he tried to go at it alone against Frieza, just from determination alone, he couldn't really pull it off because, you know, he didn't have that extra ability that basically you would get from nurturing and training like Goku did back on Earth. Which is crazy to think about because looking back on it now, the entire granola arc is focused on the fact that even though Bardock couldn't win, he strived to win and didn't care whether he lost or not. He was going to do everything he could to win until he actually powered up a little bit and was able to defeat Gas, which is completely the opposite of what happens during the Bardock special. I just thought that was kind of interesting. But one of the biggest takeaways that I got early on in Totally Not Mark's video is this.
When I saw the finished episode, I remembered feeling a good bit of admiration. With my work, I prefer lighthearted fare, so I have a tendency to avoid serious material. Even if I had written about the same past, it would have become much lighter in tone by far. Thanks to this, I felt as though even Dragon Ball had been given a little more depth. However, another quote from that time also gave a subtle indication as to what awaited us in the not-so-distant future. He said, "I really like the story of Bardock, Goku's father. It's quite dramatic, and the kind of story I absolutely wouldn't draw if it were me. It was like watching a different kind of Dragon Ball in a good way, so I thought it was nice."
Akira Toriyama would have never written the Bardock special the way that it was. He had to make something different, something more his style, and what we got with Dragon Ball Minus is more his style. And we can see the style of Akira Toriyama and influence of Akira Toriyama the most in what we know from Dragon Ball Super Superhero, a more lighthearted take on superheroes with Gamma 1, Gamma 2, Dr. Hito. Everything seems Akira Toriyama-esque, very in contrast to not only the Moro arc, but the granola arc, which is made by Toyotaro. Toyotaro has the mission right now to try to write around what Akira Toriyama made with Dragon Ball Minus, and he's trying to do the best that he can, but he still has the overseeing eye of Akira Toriyama on his back, and that is the reason that we're getting these stories the way that we're getting, because there's too many cooks in the kitchen. We have two different writers and a writing team, and they're all having their hands in this pot, including Toei and Shueisha. That's why we're getting stories that seem like they're completely all over the place and they have no guidance. There are simply too many cooks in the kitchen.
Unlike Bardock, the father of Goku from 1990, Dragon Ball Minus isn't so much a story as it is expository information that changes our perspective on the greater story of Bardock and Goku as a character on fundamental levels, with its main issues arising not only in how it disappoints us through Bardock's actions, but more troublingly, how it manages to retroactively change our perception of the main character Goku, I would argue, for the worse. Goku's pure-hearted nature for the entirety of Dragon Ball stood as a monument to what made him special as a character. Having gone through all of early Dragon Ball, overcoming great threats, saving the world from countless horrible monsters, it was later revealed by Raditz at the start of the Saiyan arc that Goku was intended to have been a greater monster than all of them, and in fact should have laid waste to that world by now. However, thanks to who Goku is, he specifically prevented that fate from befalling the world he now calls home, resulting in the climax of the Saiyan arc concerning itself with a clash of a lower class commoner, ultimately besting the so-called elite or upper echelon of the Saiyan race, Vegeta. Once again, thanks to who Goku was, he was able to gain the skills that someone like Vegeta would never have been receptive to learning in the first place, and would never have been capable of making the friendships that would make the difference in the end. Dragon Ball Minus, however, strips the story of this, and opts instead to make Goku more remarkable and much more like a Superman type character. It takes the lower class warrior no one expected anything from, which made Dragon Ball Z interesting, and replaces it with a main character who was expected to be the way that he ultimately was, and changes an unremarkable backstory into one that specifically was special, removing any of the dramatic weight that existed there prior to this reveal.
This is the part of the video that I disagree with Totally Not Mark the most, and that is that Dragon Ball Minus basically takes away what Goku had when it came to being able to train really hard, have determination, have the nurturing that he needed from the Earthlings, and have that be his crux, being more Earthling than anything, and having that be the source of his power. Dragon Ball Minus really doesn't take away from anything, and doesn't really make Goku, and at least in my opinion, doesn't make him especially special, because he essentially just escaped in the nick of time from planet Vegeta. He did the same thing in the Bardock special, and Vegeta and Raditz both escaped the planet's destruction. So this could have happened in any other way. It could have been happenstance, it could have been just his moment to leave, or it could have been Bardock sending him away. I don't think that this makes him overly special. I don't think that Dragon Ball Minus kills anything story-wise for Goku early on. It doesn't make him special because he survived in the Bardock special anyway. In this, he just has a caring father that changed his heart a little bit and wanted to save his other son. You get a much softer look at Bardock, you get more backstory to Bardock, you get more backstory to Goku, and you get Gine. In DBS Broly, you get Paragus' backstory with Broly, you get Vegeta's backstory, you get a lot of information that is, in my opinion, overly positive when it comes to the Dragon Ball Minus story elements. To me, Bardock saving Goku doesn't make Goku special at all. So I highly disagree with this part of the video for Totally Not Mark, because I am actually a fan of Dragon Ball Minus, and I really don't think that it takes away from the story at all.
Chapter 83, Bardock vs. Gas Part 2. This is the chapter everyone has been arguing over, and really the majority of arguments are concerning the wording of one line. A wish Bardock asks Minato to make on the Dragon Balls. That wish, as translated by Viz, being, "I'd wish that my sons end up thriving." On its face, it's a rather innocuous request, one that's certainly in line with the modern incarnation of the Bardock character. However, when we pause for a moment and decipher what the implications of such a general wish might be, the issues become unfortunately clear. That potentially, the real reason Goku survived all those years through the original Dragon Ball story would no longer have been due to his skills or approach to life, but instead, the magical guarantee provided by some giant magical space lizard, that he didn't defeat these enemies on his own or with the help of his allies, but he was instead destined to defeat these enemies, as the dragon willed it to be so. Now, when this came out, there were plenty of folks that looked at the Viz translation and saw it as being far more ambiguous than what I've described. I mean, thrive is a very ambiguous word that's doing a lot of the heavy lifting in this conversation, and so, therefore, it leaves a lot up to interpretation. It could very easily mean that Goku stood no chance of death growing up, and not that, depending on how you interpret the word thrive in this context, which is honestly a fair argument. That was until many other experienced Japanese speakers compared the translation from Viz with the original Japanese text and realized this wasn't quite accurate to what was originally said. Herms, a respected and experienced Japanese to English translator and fan of the series, took to Twitter to provide a more accurate and direct translation. That translation reading, "I'd wish my sons grew up healthy or well." What was translated ambiguously in the official release is actually rather direct in its original language when translated correctly.
I wish my sons grow up to be big, strong men. I wish that nothing bad will ever happen to my sons at any point in their whole entire lives ever. This is basically what Herms98 says that the actual Japanese translation says for Bardock's wish, and this is a little bit different, just talking about thriving and stuff. I gotta say, this Japanese translation is far more egregious than the original one that we got. actually anyone that I've seen. I honestly haven't seen this Herms 98 translation before, and I still had a problem with the whole thrive aspect of everything. I don't mind Bardock wishing offhand to have his sons survive and thrive, because by this point in the Granola arc, what we know of Bardock, him saving Granola, he actually cares about his children at a certain level. And so him changing his mindset and going into Dragon Ball Minus with this mindset, it actually makes a lot of sense and was a great building block leading up into Dragon Ball Minus. Now, whether Monaito made the wish or not, that is the real horror story here, because we don't have any actual evidence that Monaito made the wish besides him not saying that he didn't. But we do have Vegeta's interpretation of the story, that he thinks that Bardock actually did make the wish, that Bardock actually made the wish to have Goku and Raditz thrive and survive, and that's why Vegeta is making this little dig at Goku like, you're a pampered Saiyan. And probably in the back of Vegeta's mind, he's like, this is the reason that you've always beaten me, because you had this wish, whether Monaito made the wish or not. Monaito, at this point in time, is the only one that can make or break the Granola arc. He's the only one that can make or break this wish curse. He's the only one that can make or break Dragon Ball right now, whether he confirms or denies the fact that he actually made a wish or not. He is the only one.
Carthu from Carthu's Dojo posted an interesting theory on his Twitter. One that he admits is a long shot, but is still possible as of writing this video. Once Bardock makes the wish, Monaito is left to deliver the wish to the dragon. But we never see this happen. And so therein lies the possibility for the message not to have been passed on to the dragon, and for Monaito to instead make his own wish for Granola's future.
So this theory by Carthu's Dojo is major copium, 110%, but it does follow in line with everything that we've seen in the Dragon Ball's Granola arc, with caring about your offspring basically, and having Monaito care about Granola by seeing Bardock care about his own kids. Remember, at this point in time, Monaito really isn't nothing to Granola. He essentially is an orphan, a war orphan, and Monaito really didn't have a chance to bond with him up to that point. So for Monaito to be like, you know what, I'm going to take care of Granola because Bardock is the one saying that he is going to take care of his kids, having that be the inspiration, that makes sense that he would wish that Granola at least survive, and then that makes sense as well that the Heaters wouldn't actually kill Granola and would actually want to have a opportunity to have him help them. To me, this is one of the best endings that Dragon Ball's Granola arc could have, because this wish is really causing a lot of problems and making Goku seem far more special than Dragon Ball Minus could have ever made him feel. Dragon Ball Minus just has Goku surviving, that's it. This is an actual wish to make you survive. And so having this wish set Goku on a path to being where he is now is ludicrous in my opinion, and it almost kills everything that you have about the character. All the fears that everyone had that Dragon Ball Minus was going to make Goku super special, super awesome, and have him not be a nobody anymore, those fears in my opinion were not realized with Minus. They were absolutely realized with the Granola arc's wish. Up until this point, up until the making of this video. If it changes, it changes, but by the time of this video, we have no more explanation as to what this wish is and how it will change the story moving forward. If I had one single critique from this video as a whole, it's that he doesn't mention Raditz at all, and that's a huge problem because in almost every conversation that I've had about this chapter, Raditz has to be mentioned because Raditz can easily be ignored, but Raditz is part of Bardock's story, Bardock's lineage. He is one of the sons of Bardock. He didn't just wish for Goku to thrive and survive, he wished for Raditz to do the same thing. And if we really look at it, Raditz, he may have survived and thrived, whichever description you want of those two words, while living with the Saints. He wasn't killed up until maybe until his 30s, but at the same time, he did end up dying to his brother. He was on the weaker side of the three Saiyans. He was on the weaker side of most of the henchmen that Frieza had at his disposal. So he didn't really thrive. He just basically survived, and didn't survive for very long because he died at the beginning of Dragon Ball Z. So that's why I don't feel like we have the entire story for this wish, because a lot of people just ignore the fact that Raditz exists at all, and unfortunately Totenot Mark has completely ignored the fact that Raditz is even there, and he didn't really mention him in this video at all, which I think is really important when talking about this wish, because again, he is part of the family. But what do you think? Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think of this video. Do you guys believe Totenot Mark and what he's saying, or do you guys think that we need further explanation about the wish before we start dissecting it? Let me know in the comment section below. Have a great day, guys.
Subscribe for more content. Or perish.